Hi, my name is Leslie Hardy. I'm from Wellington Estates and I'm going to talk to you today about North Cyprus property taxes. Taxes are very important in any property transaction all over the world, and North Cyprus is no exception. Before we move on to taxes, we need to make sure you understand that a contract of sale needs to be in place. And this can be provided by the vendor or by a lawyer you choose in North Cyprus. But you've got to have a contract of sale. And now go through the types of property taxes in North Cyprus. And there are 4 taxes. I will discuss them in the order in which they need to be paid. The first tax is stamp duty. And stamp duty, as the name suggests, is a tax levied on the stamping of contracts. So the question is, why do you want your contract stamped and who stamps it? The reason you want your contract stamped and registered at the land registry is to place a charge on the property while the builder constructs it and before the title deeds are transferred to you, which takes some time. So this is the reason why you want the property stamped. It secures your deposit and the future payments you're making, and this is especially important if you're buying off plan. So the contract is stamped and tax is payable at 0.5%. So for example, if the contract value is £100,000 sterling, 0.5% is £500. What needs to be stressed is that this amount needs to be paid within 20 days of the date of the signing of the contract. So you need to make sure you don't delay, or to be precise, your lawyer or the vendor doesn't delay. And somebody needs to go to the TRNC land office and have the contract registered. If you do it after 20 days, the rate goes up and it becomes something like 1.5%, which is bad news. The stamp duty, of course, is normally paid by the purchaser. The second tax which you will need to pay is KDV, which is the local equivalent of VAT. And KDV is chargeable on the value of the contract price. And currently it's 5%. So again, on £100,000 it would be £5,000, which is a significant amount. If you are buying off plan, then when you get the keys to the property, the KDV tax then falls due, and the builder will normally try to collect it from the purchaser when you have the keys to the property. And he is quite entitled to do so. That is not anything underhand on the part of the builder. He has to make a KDV return to the authorities, and this means he needs to collect the tax from the purchaser. What you do need to make sure is you get a receipt. And by a receipt I mean a proper TRNC receipt, not just a scrap of paper. And it's best if this is lodged with your lawyers so they can just ensure it is a proper TRNC receipt. So you've paid stamp duty, you've now moved into the house, you've paid KDV. At some stage you want to have the title deeds transferred to your name. This may sound so obvious it's not worth stating, but I will state it just for the sake of completeness. There is a considerable delay between issuing a contract for a house and taking possession of the title deeds, or having the title deeds transferred into your name. And this is because a foreign customer needs to have permission to purchase, and this is granted by the TRNC authorities, but normally takes something like 18 months, 2 years or more. So you can buy a house, you can pay all the money, you can pay the stamp duty, you can pay the KDV, you can move in, you can live happily ever after, and you still don't have the title deeds. And it may be some 2 or 3 years before you've got permission to purchase. And then, when you've been granted permission to purchase, the builder or the vendor can transfer to you the title deeds. As and when this happens, there are 2 more taxes to take place. Third, there is what's called capital gains tax, or Stopaj. Calling it capital gains tax is not particularly informative, because the tax isn't based on a capital gain. This tax is normally 3.5% and is usually paid by the vendor. But the tax office really don't mind who pays the tax. The vendor sometimes places the responsibility for capital gains in the contract on the purchaser, and if this is the case, it's the purchaser's responsibility to pay it. If not, the vendor will pay, or should pay. And fourthly, the transfer fee. This again is payable by the purchaser normally, and each person has a special dispensation to purchase several properties during their lifetime, and if they do this, the first property is levied at 3% and subsequent properties are levied at 6% tax for transfer fee purposes. Now, there has been an update on the 1st of November 2011 whereby the tax office has decreed that the special dispensation of 3% for a first purchase is to be removed from foreign nationals and granted solely to TRNC Kimlik card holders, or TRNC nationals. This is discriminatory, but it now appears to be the law. So they are the 4 types of TRNC taxes. There's more on these taxes on our website, and the website is Wellington Estates Limited. If you search on Wellington Estates Limited in your browser, you will find us, and there's a page there on North Cyprus Property taxes. So, as I said, one of the pitfalls you have to consider is the delay between taking possession of a property and paying the last 2 taxes, namely the transfer fee and capital gains. There's nothing to worry about in terms of permission to purchase. Permission to purchase normally comes through without a problem, but of course it will take a considerable time. Another matter which has come to our attention in November 2011 is that although I stressed the importance of having a contract and stated that the contract price was the benchmark for the determination of taxes, the situation has now become more fluid. The tax office is no longer accepting the contract price as stated in the contract at face value. They are taking into account such matters as the location of the property, the size of the property, and the size of the plot on which the property stands, and they are adjusting valuations upwards. So, for example, your contract may say £100,000, but the TRNC tax office may say, no, we value it at £120,000. And if that is the case, then VAT, capital gains, and a transfer fee will be levied on the TRNC tax office's valuation and not on the stated price in the contract. And this is another thing for you to think about. There's lots more information on our website. The website is Wellington Estates. And if you have any questions, perhaps you'd like to contact us and we'll respond in a speedy way. Thank you very much.